Hello, welcome to the G.I. Joe New News Classified Reviews. My name is David T. Allen, or if you would like, Super Dave 817. If you would like to see more of this content, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification button for future videos. Thank you and enjoy.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the G.I. Joe New News Classified Review. I am David T. Allen. If you would like, you can call me Super Dave 817. We are here to talk about a character that I've been waiting for quite a while. Number 74, Scrap Iron. Scrap Iron was always one of my all-time favorites when I was a kid. Another one of the 84 lineup, and that is like one of my all-time favorite years of G.I. Joe. 83, 84, 85 are my three main years for me. Personally, almost all of my favorite characters came from there. 87 has a lot of my favorite variations in characters as well. So those are between there and there where most of my favorites are. You can tell I'm an early 80s collector and fan. There's different people for each era and different periods of G.I. Joe because it went for so long. The original went from 82 to 94. So, but Scrap Iron is a really cool one. He's number 74, and that's the year I was born, 74. So we have a lot to discuss with Scrap Iron because there's a lot of interesting things with Scrap Iron that I want to go into. Not only is he a figure, but they gave him this really cool apparatus that's much bigger than what he had as a vintage character. So we're going to put that together. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. So first, of course, like always, we're going to go to Dan Klingensmith's series of creating the history of G.I. Joe first. And of course, we have Creating the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Volume 4 by Dan Klingensmith Jr. All right. So then we're going to get into Scrap Iron. And this is very interesting because Scrap Iron, they did not show his weapon in this, which I was a little amazed at. Some of these renders and some of these secondaries and things like that, they did not show his weapon. They showed his helmet, they showed his face without his mask, which is very interesting because the vintage version didn't have that. So let's get into some of the stuff here. It says alternate names, NA, year release, 1984, designed by Ron Rudat. Again, Ron Rudat designed almost every figure from 82 to 87 and vehicle drivers, most of those. It says, although a few preliminary sketches were done, Scrap Iron was created primarily from existing parts that were to be used on the canceled Alpine Trooper. Although it is unknown why the change occurred, in a memo dated June 21st, 1983, there was a note regarding a new figure reference system there for the Cobra anti-tank officer. It also stated that there were supplemental illustrations to the figure sculpture sheet which would show the new head design. So yeah, there are a lot of interesting parts because you can tell like these legs look like Airborne's legs, and maybe some of the arms were other people's arms, vehicle drivers, and so on and so forth. But it looks really cool. Scrap Iron is a really cool character in general. So then we're going to go into his packaging art, his vintage packaging art. And here we are. There's Scrap Iron with his weapon system and his package. He looks really cool in that. Hector Greedo has a way of making these things just like jump off the page. And this is the time frame that I was buying almost everything G.I. Joe at that point in time. And these figures were just leaping off the pegs. for me, Scrap Iron was one of those ones like Blowtorch that was like, holy cow, what's this guy? What is he doing? He looks really awesome and stuff like that. But those years, there's so many awesome figures around that time with Scrap Iron and Blowtorch. We got Spirit, we got Firefly, we got Zartan, we got Ripcord, we got Duke, we got Roadblock, we got Spirit, the Crimson Guards, the Crimson Guard twins. It was just a plethora of awesome stuff during that 85 year. It's incredible. It's got to be, in my opinion, the best years of GI Joe. But that's just my personal preference. So if anybody in the chat would like to chime in and let me know what their favorite year is, I'll be glad to talk about that. So then he got his first comic book appearance, Real American Hero, by Larry Hama in the 80s in issue 43. And this is my all-time favorite G.I. Joe cover because it is very kind of illuminating in certain ways, but then mysterious in other ways. And anybody that's read the comics that knows what happens in this, there is a death of a major character in this story. And that's why he looks kind of like the Grim Reaper. He kind of looks like Zartan. There's a lot going on with this cover. And it's I believe a Mike Zeck cover, and I really, really, really like this cover. It's a really cool issue, and it also is involving one of my all-time favorite characters. Ripcord has a major part in this story going forward with Candy Appel, Bongo the Balloon Bear. So there's a lot going on in this. It's one of my favorite periods of G.I. Joe. There's like 3 or 4 major periods of the comic that I really enjoyed. That was one of those periods. So then let's get into Scrap Irons. Oh, wait, just 1 minute. I almost forgot. So Scrap Iron, even though he was fairly early in the line, he was 84, he got skipped over for the first several years of G.I. Joe Sunbow animation. He was not in Mass Device miniseries. He was not in the Weather Dominator miniseries. And he was not in the Pyramids of Darkness miniseries or that first season of Sunbow animation. He did not get his first appearance until Arise, Serpentor Arise, which was like 86 line of figures and toys and stuff like that. So they held Scrap Iron off. And when they brought him in, man, was he cool. He had this raspy voice, Cobra Commander, I'll do whatever you want. And then he would betray Cobra Commander and he would go to Serpentor. Yes, Serpentor, I'll do whatever you want. He would go back and forth depending upon who paid him the most money. He was really a creepy character in that miniseries, but I was glad that he finally got in there because he's a very, very cool character. Some of the characters, they don't appear where you would expect in Sunbow. They appear all in weird places, some of them. So then now we're going to get to his vintage figure. So here we go. I had to tape this one shut because he has so much accessories I couldn't keep it in this figure container without taping it shut. So let's see. We're going to open this up. We got a lot of stuff. First off, we have Scrap Iron. And like I said, he's one of my favorite vintage characters, figures, and everything. This is a very, very tight mold. Very solid. I'm thinking maybe that chest part might be one of the Cobra troopers. Maybe one of the infantry troopers might be the top part. I'm not entirely sure if that's the top of a Cobra. And then definitely the bottom is airtight. That's definitely the airtight bottom. And then the arms might even be the airtight arms. The head is definitely new, but it does not come off, so you don't get much expression from his face or his head there, which is saddening because when we get into the figure that we're going to cover, it's going to be really cool. So I'm going to put Scrap Iron over there temporarily while we fiddle with his accessories. So, of course, he's got this big launcher, which was one of the cool things about scrap iron that really interested me, that he has this big missile launcher. So then we have all the parts. We have the legs, and then we have the part that connects there. So we have all those. We have the missile control wire and apparatus there, and then 2 missiles. So this is one of those vintage ones that I wanted all the accessories, because this character is nothing without these accessories. So then he has a little bitty gun, which looks pretty good. A little detail in that as well. All right. So we're going to put that over there. I'm going to put this over here out of the way. So we're going to put this together. So let's see. This goes in here, there, like that. And then these go like this to create legs. Now you're going to see that this is much different than the new version of Scrap Iron. They did some classifying up of him and changed him. And so he's definitely not the same. They've done some much different things with this. So it's more like a stand. See that? Can you see that over there? There's a, oh, maybe not. There's a little stand there. My thing's in the way. So then this goes into here. Little doodad there. And then you put the 2 missiles in there. 1, 2. There. So there you have the missile launcher all put together. Yeah. See that? All right, so then you can put the launcher controls in one of his hands. There. So you have him with his control, with his missile launcher. And then we have his pistol, which we could probably put in the other hand. Yep. So I have the controls and the missile launcher, and then I have his pistol. So there you go. There's your vintage Scrap Iron. There's very little paint chips, maybe a little bit on him, but not a lot. He's in pretty decent shape. He's solid. He's got all of his accessories. He really, really, really looks cool. So now we get into this. So his designations, we're going to go over real quick. So he has like a little bomb on there. Let's see if I can find that. Ordnance. So that's ordnance. He's got a missile, which I saw on this side. Launcher, ordnance, missile. He's got that one with that guy with the slash through it. Let's see if I can find that one. That is the anti-armor. So ordnance, missile, anti-armor, and he's got the one with the anvil, which I don't think I have that anvil one in these. I need to get an updated thing for this. So once in a while I come across one I don't have, and I think that's one I don't have, the anvil. So we don't know what the anvil is. But so there's all your designations, and on the back you get the cross sell of them. Hey, Lone Dragon, good morning. Thanks for joining us. We're doing 74 Scrap Iron. So yeah, so if you could see that, look at that grimace on that guy's face. That's under the mask. Man, does that look cool? And then he's got all these different items that he has on his costume and stuff. And it shows all the blast effects, the missiles, and the device and the figure. So that's your cross sell. And then you have this little piece of artwork that's the targeting part artwork with the QR code to nowhere. And then on this side, you get this piece of artwork. I kind of showed it earlier a little bit. Looks really, really cool. And you can see that really cool grimace he's got in there. Man, is that interesting. And you can see his eyes through the glass, which is really cool. I love that piece of artwork. And then we have the new Shooting the Galaxy figure photography package design on the front, and you can see all those Sky Strikers behind there. It looks like he's got like there's a truck back there. The GI Joe headquarters is there. He's got his missile launcher, blast effects. He looks really like he's ready for bear there. I must say that looks so realistic. Scrap Iron is the anti-armor drone. And then we have that piece of artwork again, and then all of his accessories again. So there's your package. And again, this is the first time we're opening all these figures up. We started with 00 Snake Eyes, and now we've reached 74. We've also covered the first 7 vintage packaged figures and a few odds and ends with the double Snake Eyes Zero and the Fortnite Snake Eyes, and several of the running variants we covered. But we're going to go into a really big one with this one. This is going to be awesome. So Cobra and Scrap Iron anti-armor drone there. 74, again, a very important year in my life. And here we go. Scrap Iron with his drone. And this was not that difficult to get. A lot of Scrap Irons held out at Walmart for a while. And so it was not any difficult figure to get. I guess because of the price point, maybe people didn't get it as much. But I got it. In fact, I got 3. Early on in the first 2 or 3 years, I was getting 2 and 3 and 4 of everything. So I do have a bunch of duplicates of stuff that I'm going to probably sell off because I'm going to just stick with my 2. All right, so I opened that up. So we got that. I'm going to pull that out, put that there. We'll look at all these things in detail as we get to them, but I'm just pulling them off the cardboard. So then let's see. We're doing the vintage figures every 5 videos. We started with 40. So every 5 videos, we're doing a vintage character. And then with 100, when we get to 100, every 10 figures or items, we will do the legacy or the vintage and legacy to include in that there. So I'm going to put that over there. I'll take this over there. Check that out. Yeah. So we are getting into some really good stuff. This is like really when we get into some excellent stuff. You guys are going to be so excited for the episodes coming up. So let's see, what did we get? We got, we're still not completely out of there yet. We're almost out of there. We got a lot of fun stuff on the way that you guys are going to absolutely love. I'm really getting excited for the things that are coming in the next 7 to 8 videos. So we're going to try and move this along a little quicker and maybe do 1 or 2 figures per video if we can, if it makes sense. I don't want to do it if it doesn't make sense, but I'm going to try. We're going to try and see what you guys think to get this moving along so we can get to some of that cool stuff. All right. So, and then you guys need to let me know if there's something you want me to cover in that 150 video. It's coming up. The 150 subs video is coming up very shortly. We're almost there. We're very, very, very close. So if there's some sort of item you would love me to pull out of my collection to do a review of, I will do so, because I want to do that for you guys, and I want to make that 150 subs video a special video. All right, so we got everything out of there. So we got the treads. We're going to put that aside for now. We'll look at that in a minute. And then we have scrap iron, and then we have his artwork on his interior of the package. So that's that artwork, way bigger than it is on the package, much bigger. Look at how big that is. That gives you a lot better view of that artwork than there is on the package itself. On the exterior of the package, it looks really cool. I'm glad they're doing those. All right, so here is scrap iron. Now, the first thing that jumps out at me is this huge scar on his face. Now, I'm going to see if I can get that in the light away so you guys can see it. But there is this scar, this grisly scar on his face over here that's all pink and shaded and all messed up. And then on this side, there's two other scars that are like scratches and stuff like that. So at some point, scrap iron had a bit of a dust up with somebody or something, with some ordnance, because he got hurt. So I really think that's awesome that they gave him that more of a kind of characteristic for this him. So then let's see, we have he's got this big secondary heavy like a padding on with grenades and pouches and stuff like that. He's got a secondary holster there for his probably pistol that'll end up coming over. He's got this harness secondary that goes around his waist. It connects to both of these secondary leg harness holster things. He's got some really cool looking boots and legs, and there's a lot of detail and layering in those legs. You can see that uniform there. He's got a very heavy uniform to protect him from armaments. He's got these really cool arm pads and knee pads on him that really make him stand out as a sturdy character. He's got a lot of layering, lots of layering. As far as the ab crunch, I can't tell underneath the secondary, but he does have the waist articulation and the crotch articulation, like most of the figures. He's got the double butterflied shoulders. He's got the double pinned elbows and double pinned knees. He was playing with firecrackers as a kid, and they went off in his face. Wow, Lone Dragon. Thank you very much. That's kind of grisly, but I'll buy that narrative because I don't know that much about scrap iron's history. So there you go. I'll buy that and accept that narrative. He's got kind of a mohawk, brown mohawk there. But he also has some eye damage to his face. I want to see if I can get a good look at that. That grimace on his face and eye damage. Can you see that damage on his face there and those scars on that side? But you can see really good that grimace on his face, like, I'm angry. I love a lot of the deco colors. They got a little bit of brown in there. They got some red, some black, some navy blue cobra. He definitely looks like a cobra because he's got a lot of the cobra coloring. That's why I wore this shirt, to match. So, all right, let's put him down a little bit for a little while, and we're going to see if we can put these treads. So, unlike the other one where it was a standing one, you can see it there as a standing. This one has treads. So it's got these treads on both sides, and it's got like the red lights, like the power on it, and it's got these cool mechanization type details on either side that really stand out. And then the center looks very similar to the apparatus that puts the center on the vintage one. So that's kind of cool. So then we have the missile launcher. The missile launcher is really neat in and of itself. It looks like some sort of a secret device or whatever you would use, but it has a lot of detailing, and there's a lot of color decos like there and there on that. And then there's some deco there with some lights and stuff like that. So you can see this moving in the darkness if he has to sneak up on you with this. There's a little bit of deco there with different lights and stuff. And then it says on the side with this little tampo, a Mars tampo, and it says piezoelectric SN and some numbers and Cobra. And then on this side is another tampo, Mars tampo, anti-tank 2, number 2. So that's really cool. They really are building the world. They really started getting into this world very heavily. So I'm going to snap that on there, and it is on there. And the cool thing is it has like a ball joint on there, so it's maneuverable, and you can lift it up, you can move it around, and then the legs as well are adjustable, so you can make it go up all terrain stuff and everything like that. So they really made this drone into a playable toy, an active member of Cobra, like it can do stuff, which I love. I think that's really cool for the world building and making this environment of Cobra realistic. So I'm going to put that there, and then we're going to get into his weapons crate, which we have tons. This is very heavy. There's lots of stuff in here. So we're going to get into his weapons crate, and we're going to open that up. So we got one Cobra and Joe bag. Put that over there. And then we have another Joe Cobra bag. Put that over there. So then we have the legal, gobbledygook, and indicia. Put that back in here. Put this aside for the time being. I'm going to put it back there. Let's get into some of these packages. All right. This should be really cool. I think I'm going to move my vintage one back a little bit, back over here, to give myself some space to put some of this stuff. I'll move my drone back. And so, first off, we have huge missiles. And it says on there, laser guided, with a little bit of protection there, which is very interesting that they would put that tampo to guard from people going near these missiles. Much bigger missiles than the previous one. And then this missile is the same thing. It says laser guided. So the two red missiles are the same missile. And then we have some blast effects. Look at this blast effect with this cloud and all that stuff. That's some really cool detail. I am so happy they're adding blast effects to a lot of this stuff. So that gives you something. If it is shot out the back, you can look like that. So it's got smoke and stuff behind it. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me move him there. I'll move this over here. You see that blast effect there? There, so you can have the missiles with that. That looks really cool. I like that a lot. So then we have another blast effect on the other side. So two different blast effects. And then we have, let's see, make sure we get everything out of there. We have his familiar helmet, which is really cool. You can put his helmet on, and it has that Cobra chevron, and it has the goggles. The goggles are not see-through, which is sad. I would have liked to have had like see-through goggles. So I'm going to put that on, and even though I love this grizzly face, I'm going to put his helmet to make it look more like the vintage and see what he looks like. Yeah, he looks really cool, doesn't he? Like that, exactly like he's supposed to with the as a vintage. So we'll put that there. And so then he has the controls, which the controls are a much more like, it looks like a remote control type controls, whereas the other one was more of a clicker, a kind of a remote control type of thing. This is much more of a pad, and it has some red detailing and some guidance system details in there. So I think that's really a much better thing for modern technology. So they're classifying this up quite a bit. And then he's got his pistol. Again, this is a much more cooler looking pistol. It's got a lot of detail in that. So I'm glad that they gave him his pistol. I'm going to put his pistol into his holster that's on his right leg. There, get that out of the way. There. All right. He's got his pistol in there. He's looking cooler by the minute. All right. So then we're going to put the missiles inside the launcher. There. And it clicks in. So that's kind of cool that it clicks in so you know where you're supposed to go with it. There. Missiles in there. 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 And then we probably could give him his control. We'll just put it kind of in this hand here. Hopefully it'll be all right. Doesn't seem to want to hold it. Yeah, he doesn't really want to hold that well. I'm going to try to stand him up a little bit and see if he'll stand there. He stands. All right. So they changed a little bit of his deco. The vintage was a little brighter, and his boots are black, and in the vintage it was red. So they did change some of the deco a little bit. And he has this really cool red Cobra Tampo there. All right, let's see what's in this next bag. So we have more blast effects. Man, they gave him the blast effects, didn't they? So depending upon the type of missile or the angle in which he's like shooting this stuff, I guess you could do different blast effects. So really, they gave him a lot of blast effects. And then they gave him these blast effects. So these are the launching blast effects. So you got a super duper long one, and then you have a more smaller long blast effect. So let's take one of the missiles out. So if I was to do this, well, maybe not. I'm trying to figure this out here. Okay, so there. You have that one, and then I guess goes like that. I guess that can go inside here as well. And the same thing with this one. So there you go. Those are the blast effects. And then let's see, what else do we have? And that is it. That's all it comes with. So they gave him a lot of blast effects. Now, I would like to try to get this remote control. Maybe he has to like hold it in both hands. Maybe that's how we get it to work properly. I'm going to try that. I'm going to see if holding it in two hands will work. Like that. So it looks like he's doing what he needs to do with it. So it does look like he's holding it, and it does look like he's doing the things that he wants to do. So that's fine. So that the fact that it stays up is fine. That was my number one concern with this, that it wasn't going to stay on there. And I guess I got it to stay on. So that's cool. But man, does he look cool. I must say. What do you guys think in the chat? You guys like Scrap Iron? Do you think he's a really cool figure? I think he's awesome. They gave him more blast effects than I would ever have expected, that's for sure. But he's one of my favorites. I'm very happy with this upgraded classifying up of this character because you could only get awesomer with him. The vintage one was an awesome figure, but this is even more awesome. So I guess they had to do the classifying up of it if they were going to do that because it is awesome. So again, you could do these different angles for this. So if you do it like that, you can do it like this for the missile effect. There, like that. I must say, I'm very, very impressed with this. I would like to get more things like this. I know we've got tripwires coming up very shortly, and I would like to get some of the pack rats. Maybe do a wave of figures, like redecos of characters that we haven't gotten their redecos of, and have them each come with like a pack rat. Like we're supposed to be getting a, we should, well, I shouldn't say we're supposed to, but I would guess we would get like more of a desert camo clutch with the Vamp Mark II, and then we could get a grunt um, uh, desert deco. Maybe he could come up with a pack rat or something like that, make him a little bit different, and then do a couple other characters in the desert deco with pack rats. I think that would be a cool wave, like they did with the Mass Device wave. They did 3 different things. You could do 3 different figures with a different pack rat each, similar to what they did with Scrap Iron and Tripwire with their vehicles, their kind of little devices or whatever you want to call it. I think that would be kind of cool. Give some variety into this a little bit more for these characters. So yeah, so there's Scrap Iron. I don't know who else. There's a lot of other characters that come with heavy like equipment. We got heavy duty, pun intended, heavy equipment. But there's a lot of other characters. Fast Draw. There's a couple other characters in the 90s that have different equipment. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who has a lot of heavy armament equipment. What was the guy from the Iron Grenadiers? I can't think of his name off the top of my head. It has a lot of equipment on him, and the figure has a lot of missile launchers and stuff like that. So there's a lot of interesting characters that could use these type of devices if they really wanted to do that. But I'm guessing it would take a lot more money to do that, sculpting money and things like that for Scrap Iron type vehicles like this, because obviously the budget for these, they wouldn't be able to do a lot of these. Maybe one a year, some sort of device like this with a figure would give you a little bit more playability, build the world out a little bit. I think would be really interesting. I would like to see something like that. But I do love this. I love this very much. And I think they did an excellent job. I think they knocked it out of the park. Scrap Iron himself is almost perfect vintage inspired Scrap Iron. So I don't think we'll ever get another Scrap Iron as a vintage package, because he's almost identical to his vintage version. The only difference is the vintage version is a little brighter. This is more subdued. I've noticed when they do the classified versions of characters, they make the coloring a lot more subdued than they do in the vintage. The vintage is much brighter, but it's fine. It looks perfectly fine, this color. And like I said, they changed a little bit of the deco. They changed his boots and they added a little bit of extra color, like with the browns and stuff like that. But there's all kinds of cool layering on him and detailing that really gives you that effect that he knows what he's doing, and he's he's out for business. You can see some of the black, some of the layering on the back of him, and then he's got that normal ball joint neck articulation as well, which is really good. But he kind of has that grimace through the mask that makes you think, oh wow, he's not fooling around. So I'm really happy for this figure. I think they did a really good job.
Serpentor, I'll take care of it for you. Is his voice really this raspy? It must be because he damaged his vocal cords when he was launching his missiles.
That hurts my voice trying to talk like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is one of my favorite figures and one of my favorite classified figures. He's way up there. This is awesome. If they continue this quality, this line has a lot of legs, and we will be getting a lot more stuff for a long time because this is cool. So, all right. Thanks everybody in the chat. We got another awesome one coming up next. One of my all-time favorite Joe characters. And it is going to be a banger of a figure and review. And it's going to take me a little bit of time on that one. So we're not going to be on a short video on that one. That's going to be a long video. This one is kind of medium. Most of my videos are kind of medium. But I have a lot of new classified figures coming up. Coming in, I've got about 10 shipping notifications that I'm waiting. Looks like Tuesday is going to be the day for a lot of that. So maybe I'll do a video Tuesday evening for you guys. Again, check out Toy Talk Live. That's Sunday afternoons at 2 o'clock with my co-hosts Terry Ruin and Dan Thompson. We cover all things of G.I. Joe and a lot of other toy information and news, and we also cover a little bit of our own personal projects in that series of videos as well. It's a really cool series. I hope you guys check that out. Like, share, subscribe. As always, hit that notification so you will get notified when I am going live, so you can join me in the chat and ask questions. We are very, very close to that 150 mark on our subs, and we're going to be doing a extended video that will take a little bit longer because we're going to be opening up a Street Fighter figure that we're going to let you guys choose in the chat. We're going to give you a selection of Street Fighter figures, and we're going to let you guys choose which one we open for that video. We're going to do another classified figure in that, and we're going to do another item of you guys' choosing from the chat that you would like me to pull out of my collection, something really cool that you would like me to review. And I have tons and tons of stuff. So you can give me a selection of things that you would like, and we will try to see if I have it, and I will open it or review it. If it's already open, I will just bring it and give my insights into that item. So with all that, we will also be doing a top 10 probably favorite Joes for my 150 subs. So we're going to be doing a lot of stuff in that 150 subs video for you guys. So please let me know what you think and what you want so I can make sure I put the right stuff in that video. So again, I really appreciate everybody in the chat. I really appreciate everybody commenting and asking questions and getting involved and contributing to these videos after the fact and on the videos themselves. I love this. I love doing this for you guys. I love doing it for myself as well.
So I'm Scrap Iron. I say, Hail Cobra!
Thanks again. We'll see you in the next one.